Good morning. Welcome in. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 1059 The Zone. Brought to you by your next Ford F-150 at Mack Hike Ford, I-55 North in Jackson. And also presented by Independent Roofing Systems, the #1 commercial industrial roofing company in Mississippi, roofing.ms. You can watch the show right now on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. We welcome in DaMarkus Lodge, former Ole Miss and NFL wide receiver. And DaMarkus joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Good morning, DaMarkus. How are you?
Yo, I'm doing pretty good, man. Just having a pretty smooth Friday. How about yourself?
We are too. Looking forward to the weekend. Where are you right now?
I'm down in Jackson right now, actually.
Are you?
Yes, sir.
Are you living here?
Yeah, I've been back. Been living in Jackson since May of this past year.
Dude, we got to get you in studio. I mean, we're here and we got a great studio. So, we dropped the ball on that. We'll get you in studio. So what have you been up to?
Nothing much, man. I'm doing some consulting for this financial firm of one of my buddies down here, man, and just kind of working, laying low, man, just enjoying my family. I finally get to spend some time with my mom and my sister, my grandma, man, since I've been back. I moved to Dallas and played high school ball up there, so I didn't really get to see them there. Then at Ole Miss, man, I was always so busy. They would come up for games and everything, and we would have our couple of hours, but I never really got to spend real time with them, so it's been good being back.
That's great. So, who was your lead recruiter at Ole Miss?
Grant Hurd was recruiting me pretty hard, but Coach Jason Jones was the one I talked to pretty much the most.
Okay, all right. And so, who did it come down to? Ole Miss and who?
Okay, so it was Ole Miss, LSU, USC, and Texas A&M.
Wow, that's some studs. Okay, all right. And did you know? Was it clear cut, or was it something like going into the few months going into signing day or a few weeks? Was it difficult on you to kind of pick? Did you like more than one? How did it look?
It was pretty hard at first. I was committed to A&M. I don't know if you know that or not, but
I remember that. That's right.
For probably a year and a half or so. And then I ended up decommitting, but they were still in my top. I just didn't know how I felt about that. I really loved LSU, and I had a couple connections down there with like Jamal Adams. I was really good friends with Coach Henry. He was the wide receivers coach at the time. But, man, once I visited Oxford, I was a recruit the Bama game 2014 when we tore down the goalpost. And that pretty much did it for me, man. They were running the same style offense that we were running in high school. I was playing X, so I was loving that one-on-one jump ball. Laquan was getting 50-50 all the time. So after visiting that game, man, it was kind of it was soul for me. And I also had my best friend from high school, Quincy Adebojo, and Logan Bradley down here as well. So it was pretty much easy after that.
Yeah, I knew Quincy Adebojo was your teammate in high school. Now, how long were y'all in school together in high school?
We were there 2 years. He left after I was a sophomore his senior year. So I didn't get to spend too much time with him.
Okay.
We kind of really formed our relationship as I was taking visits. We were cool. I was more cool with Logan Bradley. He's the assistant tight ends coach, analyst over at Auburn right now under Freeze. But I was more, closer with him. But me and Quincy started really building that relationship as I started taking visits. But I was at Cedar Hill with him for 2 years.
That's so cool. DaMarkus Lodge on the Out of Bounds Show. Fantastic wide receiver for Ole Miss. And he joins us on ESPN 1059 The Zone. and the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Are you in Freeze? Did you in, let's see, 20, were you in Freeze close?
Yeah, I had a pretty good relationship with Freeze. I was still a young guy when I came in, so I didn't really get to spend that whole 4 years with him. I think I got him for a year and a half, maybe two. But yeah, me and Freeze was pretty close, man. I think he cared for me a lot. You can definitely feel that, the way he would just pull you aside and talk to you about life. It wasn't always about football, man. It was more so, about life and which direction, I should get my head thinking for my future if, ball didn't work out. So it was a pretty good time with Freeze, man. I learned a lot from him. He's a great man.
What was it like playing for Phil Longo?
Oh man, that's the closest that I've ever gotten to feeling like I was playing in a video game before. I really did like his offense. It was so much freedom to just, find space and make plays and be, just bring out the art and playing the position. You playing some offenses and, you run basic dig routes and posts and deep overs, and you don't really get the creativity to go out there and just use your art, as a receiver and create space for yourself. So that was definitely a fun era of mine, man.
I bet. We've had Longo on the show a few times. That guy is, he is hilarious. I mean, he cracks me up, and we text and so on. But, he went on and did really well at North Carolina, and now he's at Wisconsin. So I wish him the best. I think he should be a head coach at some point. But we're visiting with DaMarkus Lodge, former wide receiver at Ole Miss. You're listening to the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Hey, what other sports did you play growing up, DaMarkus?
So man, actually, a lot of people don't even know this, but I really didn't even like football at all growing up. I love playing basketball, but I just sucked at it so bad, man. I could never get good, no matter how bad I tried and how much I worked at it. But basketball was my favorite sport growing up. I didn't really play anything else. I high jumped in high school for a little bit, but then I ended up getting I sprained my hip flexor. So my head coach was like, "Man, that's it. We're gonna cut that out and just stick to football." So I didn't play a lot of sports, man, but I just got into tennis and golf. But other than that, man, just basketball was my sport growing up.
Okay, so hoops. I like it. DaMarkus Lodge on the Out of Bounds Show. So you're there in 2014 when Ole Miss beats Bama, and you're like, I got to be a part of this, right?
Yes, sir. It was a magical weekend. And it was my first time in Oxford.
Was that your official, or were you just coming over to check it out?
I was just coming over to check it out. Logan had been begging me to come down and just visit. And I know everybody said, and, people probably tired of hearing it now, but it was around that time where they were really putting it out, if you don't want to come to Oxford, don't visit. And, I called her bluff, and, and it ended up getting me bad, man.
I love it. Have you been able to make were you able to make a game this year? How'd that look?
Oh yeah, I've been to every home game this year, man. And it's been awesome. I've never seen our stadium like this. My time there, I don't know about before, I got there. I wasn't too big on Ole Miss before then. But it's the best I've seen. And I can tell you one thing, that LSU weekend was probably just as good as that 2014 Bama weekend. It was electric in Oxford that weekend, man.
Wow. Okay. So you've been able to make it up to the home games. What do you think of Jackson Dart and his play at quarterback and some of the things he's been able to do?
Man, I love Dart. I still think his ceiling is so high. The way that, he had a good year last year, but the way that he, took the off season and worked on all of his flaws and just got better as a manager, a game manager, being able to spy out coverages and change routes, just him competing. And you see him fight all year, man. That kid has so much heart in him, so much fight, man. That's the thing I like about him the most. He's a big guy, So a lot of people don't think he's as thick as he is, man, but he's a big guy. But that fight that he has in him, man, it's that warrior mentality, and the team can feel it. And I think that's why they gather around him the most. They see you want to get better. They see you care about him. They see you love him, and man, he just fight, man. No matter what happens, he try to take the next step to get better, and I love that, man.
Yeah, dude is tough. I mean, he's taking some shots, and he will not go out. That's what it takes. DaMarkus Lodge, former wide receiver at Ole Miss, on the Out of Bounds show. Trey Harris, as someone who had a lot of success at the SEC level, what do you see in his game that you like?
Oh, man. His ability to go and get the 50-50, you might as well say 80-20 at this point. But what's crazy to me, man, I just found out that he used to play quarterback at one point of his career. So it kind of makes sense now how, he's not the fastest guy, but he always has so much separation between him and the defensive back, is because I think that, he thinks like a quarterback, and he's taking that art of receiver to know where he needs to be, if he needs to speed up the route a little bit or slow it down a little bit, where the ball should be placed. He kind of knows, he can anticipate where it's going to be placed, I guess, from just playing quarterback and having that mentality. But the most impressive part of his game, man, is physicality, and his ability to go get that 50-50 ball is amazing to me.
Yeah, and he's coming back. Did you see that?
Yes, sir. Him and Caden, man, that's some of the best news that I heard, man. When him, Caden, and a lot of those guys
Jordan
coming back, they got something on their mind.
Yeah, they do. So Prescorn, Trey Harris, and Jordan Watkins all coming back, and Judkins is only a sophomore or junior to be. So that's what you have coming back. Dart hasn't committed, but I think he's coming back. Don't you, DaMarkus?
Man, it would be hard for him not to, man. I think, once he see those guys committed, and he got some of his biggest playmakers, already saying that, I want to come back and try this thing again and really try to do something. I think it's hard not to want to, after being so close this year and having a good year last year, and knowing that you have the coaches that can put the pieces together to do it. It'll be hard not to, man. I think he'll bring it back.
DaMarkus Lodge on the Out of Bounds show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. What was it like to play with A.J. Brown?
Man, that was awesome. Him and DK, but man, AJ, he's a real funny guy, man. A lot of people, see him, and he's his physical physique, man. He's a big, jacked up guy, and his play style is just so raw and so edgy. A lot of people don't see that, that soft side of him, man. He's a guy that's always laughing, no matter the height of the situation. He found a way to be positive and encourage his teammates. Obviously, man, he's a great talent, but just knowing that you have somebody out there that's going to give his all and ride for you no matter what, no matter how your day going, how your game going, he's going to always be there. So that was, man, it was great to play with him, man. Just knowing that, you can show up on game day, and it's the leader, the 2-3 leaders of your room aren't too serious, man. They're showing you can have fun, but also lock in and do the work.
Man, those guys have had successful careers, and what AJ's doing is crazy. DaMarkus Lodge on the Out of Bounds show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. What was Jordan Ta'amu's personality like?
Man, you can just look at Jordan and just tell he was a big bubbly guy, man. I don't think I ever see him had a bad day at all. He's always going. He's always energetic. He's always dancing. And the thing that I loved about Jordan, having him as a quarterback, his ears was always open. It was never a time that you couldn't come to him and say, hey, man, this week the DB's going to be playing like this. I'd rather you place the ball over here, or I'm going to run a route like this. He was always more so of, what do you guys think about this game plan or this route combination, or instead of, being a commander and forcing it on us, he was more so open to take information from us and really listen to us and what we were seeing, and
I like that,
and kind of go from there.
Dude, y'all had some talent. I mean, Dawson Knox, DaMarkus Lodge, AJ, DK. And I always thought this, DaMarkus, 2016. I know that was early in your career, but you were already getting on the field and making an impact. I remember the Alabama game. I think y'all are up 24-3 or something, and you're rolling, and eventually Chad Kelly gets hurt a little bit later. A few games later, but that team had a lot of promise. Talk to me about Chad Kelly and how freaky athletic he was, his arm, the way he can move, and all the things he brought to the table.
Oh, man, no offense to any other guy, but Chad Kelly was the best quarterback that I've played with. I know I keep bringing it up, but, man, he was a competitor. It was nothing or anyone that he was scared of. He was going to take his shots, take his chances. He trusted it in his guys, but the thing that made Chad so different, man, Chad knew the game like the back of his hand. He can tell you every little antic about every defensive player on the team. He knew in the third quarter, at the end of the third quarter, if the game was, close, that these guys were going to play this defense, and they were going to run more cover 2 or whatever. No matter where you saw Chad, you saw his iPad. He knew what was going on, and he was going to demand all the receivers, well, everybody, to be great. But, off season, when we ran routes, man, it wasn't just 2-3 receivers. The whole group was there, and they were there on time, and it wasn't no going back and forth with Chad, man. So that this leader, that warrior mentality that he had, and just knowing what was going on at all times was awesome, man. I love Chad. That was my favorite quarterback.
He's doing well in the Canadian Football League, DaMarkus.
I know, man. I've been keeping up with it, man. He's been balling, which doesn't surprise me at all. It's just so unfortunate, early on in his career, all the things that happened to where, he don't have a chance to show that in the NFL. But, man, I think he's better than a lot of guys that's playing in the NFL right now.
I agree. I agree. The head-to-toe talent is ridiculous. We're hanging out with DaMarkus Lodge. Played at Ole Miss, NFL. He joins us on the Out of Bounds show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. All right, what was in your opinion, what's your best game at Ole Miss, or the one that you go to right when you think about the career? You're like, that game.
Oh man, that's tough. I would have to say, just because of the way the game went for us, and where we were at in the season as far as injuries and everything. Vanderbilt, my senior year, when the AJ catch, when he hit the ground, controlled the ball all the way through, and they called it incomplete. I would have to say that was my favorite game, because growing up, all I wanted to ever do, even playing Little League, was catch a one-handed pass for a touchdown in a game. And I had actually never caught a one-handed pass in a game before. So catching that one-hand pass that made ESPN top 10, and, just getting the 2 feet down, and just the atmosphere of the game, how good of a game it was. And, I think I had a swollen ankle, a sprained ankle I had to play on. AJ was a little banged up. We didn't have DK. And the way the team just fought, man. And I think that had to probably be my favorite game that I played in.
Yeah, 9 catches, 117 yards, and a TD that day for DaMarkus Lodge. All right, so we're going to have to hang out now that I know you're here. We want you to come in studio and hang out with us in the next, whenever you can, and talk ball and maybe some NFL and SEC. Are you up for that?
Man, I'm down. Just let me know. I'm available whenever you guys want to get in. We can dive into the whole thing, man. I can unwrap some things that happened
Yes.
to me in the NFL times and all of that. But one thing I do want to say, I don't know if we're getting off or not, but my favorite memory at Ole Miss was watching Laramie Tunsil play as a freshman.
Wow.
That was the most magical thing that I ever experienced. I can say 95% of the time, until the ball was released out of Chad's hand, I watched Laramie, just the way he moved, his finesse, the way he can anticipate where the edge guy was going or if a twist was about to happen. I had never seen anything like it, and I never paid attention to offensive linemen. But seeing him move the way he moved and the footwork and the athletic ability that he had was probably some of the best things that I've watched in live sports, like in person. Ever.
Wow. He may make the Hall of Fame. He has had an incredible career, and that's some serious testimony right there. All right, so DaMarkus Lodge, I hope you have a great weekend. We had a blast. There's a lot more I want to get to, but I got to take a break and wrap up the show. But we want to get you in studio now that you're here. And yeah, you see more than we see. So we'll talk, NFL wide receivers, some of the things you experienced in the NFL. And I hope you have a great weekend. And I can't thank you enough for spending some time with us today, DaMarkus.
Man, thank you. No problem at all. Just let me know, and I'm down to come in. You guys have a great weekend as well.
All right, buddy. DaMarkus Lodge, fantastic player at Ole Miss, joining us on the Out of Bounds show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Had offers to Southern Cal and A&M and LSU, was at the 2014 game when Bo Wallace and that defense, because, it all turned on the scoop and score. It was crazy the way that ebb and flow of that game. But that turned the corner for him. He ends up going to Ole Miss, has a fantastic career. I didn't know he was here, so we're going to get him in studio sooner than later. And a talented dude. Sounds like he's got some good stuff going on, too. All right, lunch today is brought to you by Burgers, Blues, and Barbecue. Amazing burgers. We always talk about the Dirty Bird wrap, fried chicken or grilled. I go fried chicken. We love the fries and the onion rings. They do a blue plate. Their smoked chicken is amazing. They've got some nachos that will just knock you over, and they've got Stella Artois. I want you to have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday, and believe it or not, we're going to go 7 a.m. to 12 at the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook and Lounge. Bet $50 there. Play award-winning Dancing Rabbit Golf Club for $30. I hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy the holidays. Merry Christmas. For Jason, I'm your host, Bo Bounds. If you missed anything this week, and I thought we had a heck of a week, go to Apple Podcast or Spotify. Search Out of Bounds with Bo Bounds. See ya.